people in Albany are still working from home. People at the state agencies are still working from home. It's,
Let me check.
come on. Can we
Yeah, I'm still here.
get going? It's been so frustrating.
Maybe the prices will come.
Oh no.
No.
You feel like the water
Go up higher. Plus you can't get anything right now.
Yeah, actually, the first of the year is going on, I think. Or who knows?
It's been nuts. I mean,
Well, you can join us.
go to Home Depot and see what it's plywood cost.
They say it's coming back down. One of the guys that works at lumber prices are almost back where they were.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he was just in the Lowe's this weekend. He says the lumber prices are almost back to pre-pandemic.
We've been tracking PVC pipe and ductile iron pipe and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, our nights are a little.
Maybe it flattened out, but we haven't
See,
seen
that's
it.
what I was hoping, that it would start to.
I'll check on you.
I go up to Lowe's, I had to get for my father-in-law a piece of 4-inch PVC for his drain out of his basement. It was like $19 for a 4-inch, 10-foot piece of PVC. It's like, you're kidding me.
Yeah, those are the ones
That would have cost what? $1.50?
Come spend some time.
Yeah, 4 or something.
But to put it in would cost you $20.
Now, wait a minute. You mean there's a limit to your friendship? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, he said that he went to Lowe's OSB is $17 a sheet. You know, $2.
Wood has been coming down, but the PVC, I know that's still up there.
Yeah, plastic and ductile iron pipe. And
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
spills in
stuff's
cold grass.
still bad. Oh, good work.
Gotta start checking up on you guys.
Good, yeah. We're doing wonderful.
This is pretty close to the property lines. I think my phone is silenced.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock on December 6th, 2021. This is the annual planning board meeting for the month of December. At this time, I'd like to explain where the exits are. The closest one is out the door to the left, downstairs, and there's another exit at the end of the hall. At this time, I would ask everybody that has an electronic device in their pocket that might ring, buzz, or anything else, get it turned off, turned down, so that everybody has an equal chance to voice their opinions and make a presentation. There's an AED out in the hall if needed. And at this time, I guess we'll call the roll. Cheryl?
Linda Zaru.
Here.
Steve Law.
We haven't heard that.
Dave Martin.
He's been excused.
Chris Schleider.
And here.
Mark Bellerstein.
Here.
James Nesbitt.
Here.
Steve Hittner.
Here. Okay, very good. Has everybody had a chance to look at last month's planning board minutes? And is there any others further discussion, changes, or anything else that we need to address before? Or to approve it? You move to approve, Steve? Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Linda Zaru.
Yes.
Dave Martin. Dave Martin's excused. Chris Schleider.
Yes.
Mark Bellerstein.
Yes.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Steve Hittner.
Okay. At this time, we're going to hear first agenda item for Conservation Corridor Development Permit for Risa and Lisa Gudgel. Is that right? For 19 Summer Haven Drive.
How you doing? I'm Brian Kogler with Fitch Construction. I'm representing the Gudgels for the Conservation Corridor Development Permit. So they're just looking to build 3-season room on top, or in place of the deck, current deck we have there now. We're gonna take down the existing deck because it's not safe and build a new foundation for the deck and build 3-season room on top of it.
Okay, sideline setbacks.
They're all set, they did get, they did go to zoning already, and they did get the variance for, coastal erosion hazard area. So they are all set.
Okay. Janine?
Yeah, I looked at it and I don't see any issues. It is consistent with the LWRP.
Okay, very good. JP?
Really no civil engineering concerns. I'm just wondering about visual impacts from the neighboring property to the east. If altering that from a deck to a actual structure will have visual impacts.
No impact to drainage.
No. I mean, not even to be able to be calculated. It's so small. Yeah.
Very good. Keith?
It's type 2 under seeker, but I have no legal concerns.
Linda?
No, it was it.
Steve? Okay. Mark?
No comments.
Jim?
The only question I have is the roof length. It's in the front of the house. Is that just going to continue from the existing roof, or is it going to be stepped down? And what brought that to my attention is where the two skylights are over on the left side of the small picture. You can see where there's a storm drain, not a storm gutter going across the roof.
It will be tied into the fascia the same out and extend out. So the plane might change pitch a little bit, but it's going to continue that slope.
So you're going to have to do something with your gutters and stuff.
Right.
Okay, that's the only thing I had.
Okay. Seeker? Motion?
Sure, I'll make a proposed resolution that we resolve that the planning board classifies this action as a type 2 action, thus concluding seeker review. No determination of significance is required. This is for the Gudgel at 19 Summer Haven Drive.
A second.
Poll the votes, please.
Linda Giroux,
Yes.
Chris Schleider,
Yes.
Mark Ballerstein,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Steve Hittner.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion in the making?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we approve the Conservation Corridor Development Permit for Richard and Lisa Gudgel at 19 Summer Haven Drive, seeking relief in Town Code 520-24B2 to add a three-season room to the lakeside yard. This is in the SR zoning district and the conservation overlay district. Tax bill number 008.14-1-1. And following documents have been submitted for review: a letter of intent, coastal erosion hazard area permit application, DEC determination, building permit application with plans, instrument survey, photos of the project area, and aerial photos of the location.
I'll second.
Linda Giroux,
Yes.
Chris Schleider,
Yes.
Mark Ballerstein,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Steve Hittner.
Yes.
Good. Continue all your discussions now with our code compliance officer. Good
Thank you, guys.
Bye, Brian.
Okay. Second item on the agenda is a commercial concept proposal for 1722, 1730 Lake Road by Pam LLC for tear down of the existing structure and proposing a convenience store with a gas can, food, car wash, and vacuum stations.
Good evening,
And for the record,
Don Lewis with Marathon Engineering.
okay.
I'm here representing PEM LLC, and they do business as Quickly's Convenience Stores. They're a newly formed corporation. We've been buying up and rehabbing existing gas station facilities, as well as building completely new facilities as well, which is what we're proposing here. It's roughly a 1.7 acre site. You're familiar with it as being Bob's Storage Building.
You have something you might just put up on the board there for,
Yeah, I can put up
I think we can tuck that in, or put a, there should be a couple.
There we go. So this colored rendering here just shows, it shows the proposed over top of what's existing there now. I'm sure you're familiar with the site. Most of it is pavement and building. The site now is roughly, it's nearly 90% impervious. And with what we're proposing here would be right around the 80% mark with some increased green space from what's there now. Like I had said, there's the main building, that Bob's building sits here now, almost right where I'm showing the convenience store in the car wash building area. There's another smaller pad up here. What was another old gas station building pad foundation that needs to be removed. We're going to remove all the impervious surfaces that are there now. Everything will be new. Proposing two different accesses, one off a double access off of Lake Road on DOT right away, and then also that's Route 19, State Route 19, and the other one's off of Roosevelt Highway on the north side. They are also, this is one of their, like I said, this is their typical layout. They have a canopy, depending on size and shape, anywhere from 5 to 8 gas pumps. This one will have 6. It'll have 3 rows of 2 deep, and there'll be a, how big is this? This one is a 4,000 square foot building, the convenience store itself, and then they have a tenant, which typically is a Dunkin' Donuts, a Tim Hortons, that type of tenant with a drive-through around the rear, pickup window on the end, on the north side. I think this is their typical layout. They expand the building to fit the facility, and this is one that fit well within this property footprint. And then they also are proposing a double bay laser car wash. It's the one that you pull your car into and the machine runs around your car and does the wash. They're currently building a facility that's similar to this in Arundipoit, and I do have some visuals for you. You guys can share that.
Thanks,
one
Todd.
Here, this will give you an idea of the aesthetics of what they're building.
He wants to lay down at the end there. He wants to be part of this.
So
I'll
yes.
tell you what, could you just hand that out to our audience?
Sure.
And they can share it and you can put it in the discussion.
I've seen it before.
Don, that's one going in on Ridge Road at the library?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's a different, they sent over what they had as far as, they weren't gonna go too far into it till we got through this meeting with exactly the layout, but you get the idea of the treatments and stuff like that they aim for. There's, we do all the stormwater management. There's, existing facilities or existing utility connections are all on the property for whatever water connections and water supplies we have to have. Sanitary sewer connections. I believe the sanitary sewer for the town goes right through the middle of this property with an easement on it. So we'll have to work around that as well. And again, again, to mitigate any stormwater management requirements by the DEC and by the town. Currently in the commercial neighborhood business zoning, and this layout adheres to the zoning setbacks. We've since completed the boundary and the topo base and are currently working on trying to work out our layout to match what is required, which we would have some questions with the town engineer and the highway department and fire code to set the fire lane sizing. This currently now works with their fuel trucks and the turning radiuses, which are typically more than what are required for fire access. Currently shows 25 parking spaces with 2 handicap spots. They roughly have 8 employees between the store, the convenience store, and the drive-through. The car wash is self-sufficient. The manager from the store handles any of the needs for materials and money and all that through his daily operations. We also show 4 vacuum bays up in the north end off the entrance there for people that come out of their car wash. They can take the bypass lane around the back of the building and use the typical 4-bay vacuum stations is what they have at their other facilities. And we have a dumpster enclosure for all of our trash needs as well. So with that, I open up for any comments or questions you may have.
Oh, okay. Well, JP, I'm sure we're looking for a little bit few more details. And
Yeah, and I think to preface everything, Don came to the town, probably right after the cutoff date, but we don't do any concept plan reviews, but this seemed to warrant to me a concept review because it's, we don't have a lot of commercial developments, especially of a scale like this. So I thought it was very worthwhile to come and get a general overview of this, and before he has to and his client have to spend a lot of time and energy doing detailed plans. So Don and I have talked about it. There aren't many things you can do on the site that won't be an improvement. So I think this would be a vast improvement to the site. Engineering issues, drainage we can deal with. We're shrinking down the paved space and adding green space. Water, sewer, all those things we can handle. Traffic, these type of facilities don't generate traffic as much as they pull passers-by that are going this way. You're not going to get someone coming off of Ridge Road to come down here to go here.
It's not a destination.
It's not a destination. It's going to be pulling local traffic. I'm not concerned much with traffic. Both roads are going to be dictated by what the DOT says. So if they don't like the entrance configurations, they'll deal with it. Only like big site issues that I saw, there's a bypass lane proposed around the south end of the proposed car wash. I don't see that as I'd rather see more green space and omit that bypass lane. It's not a quick lease, but it's Speedway or whatever it is on Ridge Road in Clarkson at Sweden Walker.
Brand new.
They proposed a bypass around the side too, and it really seems like unnecessary pavement to me. So I would suggest omitting that and adding more green space. I mean, I don't see people queuing up to go through the laser washes. And the drive-through section, I think we clearly need to buffer that east side of the property because it's clearly residential here, and if we can add more green space on the south side, I think those are engineering issues I would look at.
You mean up by the dumpster? Is that what you're talking about? Where it's
Yeah, along that whole east property line.
the whole property line?
The odd part about the property is, pavement for this whole area extends to that, onto that residential parcel. So we're really cutting that pavement and putting, like I said, now that we have the topography ourselves, this is a much wider green space here, just by the way the boundary actually came out, because this is just on off tax maps. So you'll have this swath of, lawn about this wide, and then their old pavement will be there, and there'll be our new pavement on the other side, so.
Right.
It's just kind of odd.
Yeah, I think that's only an improvement, but there was never really if a Dunkin' Donuts or whatever goes in there, there was never really a drive-through back there.
Right.
So it was a quieter operation, whatever was going on in the back.
Sure.
So anything you're right though, it's a benefit that you're pulling back into your own footprint.
Right.
But I think making sure we separate the private or the residential from the commercial.
The property to just before we get into more general comments, the property to the east, do they have a separate access point to their property? This doesn't cut them off, does it?
Oh, as far as the tax, through here, I think the tax part, there's a width of property that comes down through here, so this isn't landlocked. And I can't remember if this comes around and touches Roosevelt Highway again or not, I can't remember.
That's that question.
Because this is quite a large parcel here.
Yes, there's two exits.
But I think there,
Okay, all right, somebody's calling.
I think there's a flag, the flagpole goes out and touches that, because we're not changing any property lines other than, this property is two parcels, but our subdivision is inside of these two parcels. There's a lot line that we're gonna diminish, to make it into one tax parcel within this parcel, this is two addresses.
Are you gonna combine them?
Yes, we're gonna combine them in the process. Like I said, there's a foundation of a building in here. It's kind of a really quirky,
Yes, sir.
jiggity jaggedy type property line there. That's just gonna go away. Yeah.
There used to be an old ice cream store there.
Is that what there was? It's kind of cockeyed on an angle a little bit. Yeah.
That's where all the kids used to go after the baseball games and soccer games.
That's true, yeah.
Everything else. A while ago, right?
And but he'll also find, and they'll have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, there were sewers there, they go to that foundation too, they're probably still tied into your regular sewers.
I would imagine so.
You guys are gonna probably find all that when you dig here, if everything goes.
Yeah, we have the record. We see the record match in Pier 1 or somewhere, as old as they are. But we picked up the manholes too and have the inverts on that. So.
Where does that sewer go relative to the canopy and stuff?
The sewer actually runs, there's a driveway almost across,
Right.
midway here, and it runs right down there. There's a manhole real close to this property corner. It goes over toward the canopy and then comes back. Must have been because there was the configuration of this building or something back then. Probably might have to do a bypass of it just to straighten it out. Again, that's an engineering thing to deal with.
There was a drain in there for a loading dock at one time. I don't know if that's ever been plugged or.
It got buried with dirt. He's right, the sewer does, it makes some weird angles, why did it ever do that, I don't know.
It comes right out of this, it collects, I don't know how far it goes up back there, but I'm sure it collects your whole facility here, I don't know.
Yes.
It is kind of odd, there's something there, obviously a portion will go around, and it's within an easement, so we'll have to deal with all that as well.
Well, we're gonna have some more discussion, I'm sure, but we're trying to wade through this.
Sure.
Keith, you had some comments on a conceptual plan. Would you like us to handle them, or can they be shared?
You can share them at your leisure.
Okay, very good.
I mean, the thing that really leaps out at me is you have a lot of lot coverage here, notwithstanding the fact that it's an old facility. We treat it as a new one because it is a new one. Lot coverage in this district, I believe, is 66%. That's max lot coverage, which is actually fairly generous as most zoning codes go. And because of that, I think we've gone beyond that. There really isn't any buffering for the residential neighbors. There isn't much in the way of landscaping. I realize this is a concept plan, but I've also seen some other quick lease sites in the county, and some of them are pretty Spartan. So I'd like to see a landscaping plan. I'd like to see some buffering. I had suggested in my comments for the property to the east, there should be landscaping and a fence, like a 6-foot wooden fence. And there should be some discussion about that order board, the menu board, how loud that's going to be, when it's going to be operating, and will the residents view that as their alarm clock every morning as somebody starts chirping, "May I have your order, sir?" just to say, and that's all. I have nothing further.
These are all things you'll see at a public hearing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so be ready to either mitigate them up front in your design or take it under advisement at this time, because we will listen.
Sure.
Okay? So, Cheryl,
I made comments.
not at this time.
Yeah.
She'll have the last word though.
Absolutely.
Soon as she goes.
Yeah.
So, Linda.
I think it's really a nice project, and I think our town needs it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Same, I think it's been a dead spot for a while. I think, somebody want to do something like this with some tweaks for landscaping and things to protect the neighbors. I think it's a great project.
Thanks for jumping in, and while I'm thinking about it, just let the record show you Mr. Locke did show up. He has a job with another municipal entity, and sometimes he is still providing service to the public. And we don't grade retarding. Okay.
And unfortunately, I had a court thing tonight.
Those things happen. So, okay, only 1 star. We'll talk about you. The other Steve.
This is a moth that turned into a cocoon for a number of years, and now it looks like we have a chance to make it a butterfly. And I think that keep in mind that it's going to be a substantial butterfly for the area, and it'd be nice to see it come that way, and a few extras here and there for the landscaping and on the footprint would be really nice to see.
A couple of comments. One is the neighbor to the north, I think, has gotten comfortable with parking in your property, the owner's property there. So you might have to deal with that. I'm not sure how they're going to adapt. There's quite a few cars that park there for the apartments as well as the store. So that's just a advisement, I guess. And then I was just curious, where are you going to put your underground fuel storage tanks? Have you figured that out at all?
Those, I believe, are up front, in front of the canopy, between the canopy and the front grass island. I think that's where they end up putting the tanks.
Okay.
They usually have a concrete pad over the tank with the manhole covers.
Okay, your first sentence, the owner proposed to subdivide, explain that.
Well, right now, this is, the property that have a contract on is two separate parcels. So, the main part of it, I can't remember which one it is, 1722 or 1730. There's an existing line that divides this parcel that you see into 2 pieces. So when we subdivide it, we'll make that's 2 tax parcels, we'll combine it into 1 tax parcel. So you pretty much dissolve the line that's in the middle.
It's a common problem.
You make it into a common lot line.
The question I have is if the square footage changed or was affected by that subdivision, or you call it subdivide, we can't really do anything until we have to settle that.
We could do it contemporaneously. We could do it at the same time.
We can do it at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, that was one question. Second question is there gonna be a loading dock?
There will not be a load.
There will not be a loading dock. Okay, and the third thing is a dumpster enclosure.
Yes, there's a dumpster
Yeah,
enclosure
okay.
up on the north end.
That appears on your drawing to be very close to the lot line.
It will
It's gonna
be.
be a permanent structure, it's gonna be the same thing as building a garage.
It'll be, no, this
Oh,
won't
it
have,
won't
this
have
won't
a
have a
roof.
top on it. It'll have a concrete pad and then a surround, either a masonry surround or a fence surround with gates on it.
See, and I look at that as to be, quite close to your neighbor's house.
And if we put, I mean, if you had fence that ran along there, or you had the dumpster pad ran along there, either way, we buffer, the buffering would be the same if it was a board-on-board fence that we ran across there.
Yeah.
The dumpster enclosure, mimics that.
Okay, and outside of that, I would vote for Tim Hortons.
Duly noted.
Questions that come to mind about your neighbors immediately to the north of the car wash. Actually, it's west of it, and two properties to the north. Okay, you got the church, and then there's a couple of
Yeah, the church is the one to the south there,
Concern I had is sound during Sunday services off the car wash and or drive up.
This car wash,
wedding.
I'm sorry, this car wash, if you've seen the laser ones, this is where the door opens, the car goes in, the door goes down. So all the washing happens inside.
So it's really a drive-through.
It's a drive-through, but both doors, the doors are closed during the
Yeah.
washing operation.
Yeah, but you
And
also
then
have an alarm that goes off when the door goes up, you have to leave.
Beep, beep.
Okay, you have vacuum stations that are going on. It's gonna be a concern that's brought up that, sound does travel.
Sure.
And, it might have something to do with how you deal with that mitigation decibel levels off-site or containment on-site, either by a staggered board or some other type of, absorbing material that's on it, okay? Or, no hours of operation during Sunday services, something else. You're just trying to be a good neighbor, the hours of operation. So it's something to consider, okay? If you can, in a different location, measure those decibel levels through a board-on-board, so you can give somebody a comfort level of the neighbor to the south and the church and stuff.
Sure.
Okay, because it'll come up. Lighting also, okay, and what you said with menu board. So, those are all good questions. So you've just getting the property survey done, okay, you
Now
got
we know
sewer
what we
runs
have.
down through there. There was an existing pump island and stuff on this site, tanks were removed.
Correct.
Okay, I believe the earth was removed and taken to medication someplace, had been tested.
Not aware of that.
Okay.
I think it was tested on site, just like the one for 1712.
Right. So, other than that, if you can work with JP to get us something to, he's not gonna do the engineering for you, already told me. He charges us too much.
He's as good of an engineer as I am.
Oh, Jesus, thanks.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, can I ask something too, being the former or the new supervisor?
Oh, I thought you were gonna do it as, the head of the old sewer department.
No, JP and him know the sewer, he pointed out the sewer pretty well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I was thinking, I mean, I like this too, that it's taking an eyesore out of town. I love the idea and stuff, and I just see you gotta do other stuff, and is there any way, does your company need that other corner building lot, or if it was for sale?
Cheryl said you could go talk.
I'm saying that.
No one mentioned that.
That's an eyesore and everything too. That would make that corner look a lot better.
Yeah.
If the people would
Pretty much
sell
more
it.
visible.
Be a better place for the car wash.
It would be a better place for the car wash right there.
Actually,
It'd be
yeah.
farther away from the church.
Well, I know that lot, if it ever was him, they'd have to come back into conformance because the state would have to take the corner of that building because it's in the right of way.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so.
But I didn't know if there's you guys ever, I'm just thinking of the future plans for Hamlin, that's all.
Oh, yeah, no, and it's good that he's come in with this conceptual thing because it is needed. So a comprehensive plan that meets our needs, okay, is very important this time, so sharpen the pencils, boys. Other than that, I really don't have anything else, and I like Tim Robbins.
Yeah, there's two of us.
Don, just a couple other things to help minimize. I think we spoke offline about this. You're showing 30-foot wide aisleways in and out,
Yes.
and 30 feet between the canopy. Those are pretty generous widths, and I think the more green space and the more we can increase the buffers, I think those would be better. I mean, 24 seems.
Well, not knowing, again, when I was talking with Cheryl about trying to circulate that around to get some input on that, we would love to work with less, but most towns, they have the 30 foot. And
I think 30 foot is in this context. I mean, we're not pulling off at Flying J's in Pembroke. We're not going to have tractor trailers pulling in and out.
The only one would be their tanks.
The fill trucks.
And then that's the only one I really need to pay attention to. But that I know will work with this. I know it does work with 24 foot.
But I think if we can shrink those down, get as much green space, as much buffer, I think those are going to.
Even if you had to increase the opening on the state highway or leave it at 30, it can be thrown down. All right, still maintain some of the, the accessibility for a large tanker. All right, so you're gonna have to benchmark with the state and see what they're gonna want. They're gonna want to see green space and less pavement open in a corner. Sure. Anyways, okay, so I think it'll all work.
Right.
And tomorrow when you're back at work and you're having your coffee break.
From Tim Hortons?
Oh, I guess get over there.
Order the double.
My thought was, would you ask the owner if he would consider not having a car wash?
I could ask.
Is that a big ticket?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the location.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot better place to put the dumpster and a few other things. And because there's a car wash in town very close to this location, it's not really busy all the time, so I'm not sure, what it's gonna do with your income. But it would give you a lot more room for green space and stuff, but just, casually ask them if they consider that.
Sure.
There's two car washes. There was a car wash down at the other convenience store at one time, and it
didn't do enough. They store tires in there.
But there was 3 car washes in town at the time then, so. But anyways,
just, I don't wanna reinvent the wheel or anything, but ask them if they would consider that, because it would make it a more attractive site from my mind. Just keep bringing up coffee.
all right, that being said, is there any other questions or anything come to mind, Phil?
I'm just wondering about snow removal and
Where you're gonna pile snow in the winter.
Snow storage.
Snow storage off the green space here, over in here for this lot here. That's pretty much what they'll have to do, even in the front here. In the green spaces.
That's a lot of parking lots,
So they got to
something
remove
to
it.
consider is all.
Right.
Yeah, we would mark, I mean.
But they're shrinking the pavement they have now.
And we'll demarc the areas, typically on a site plan, we'll show hashed out areas that, you know, that way, you know, if there becomes a problem, the town says, wait, you're supposed to have this as, you know, you can't be storing all this other stuff sitting there. And they have the rights to have it.
Don't wanna kill the landscaping, though, either.
It's true.
They gotta take into account westerly winds, a bunch of other stuff that we have in the town, but it's a definite improvement. Okay, if there's no more questions or anything else like that. Any discussion from the town board members?
Right now.
Steve?
No, sir.
You're doing good. So we got 22 minutes before the Bills game starts. Do anybody want to have a work session or anything? It might last. Well, if there's, Janine, do we have anything?
The only thing I'm gonna add, I guess it's public knowledge, our chairman of our conservation board is retiring from the conservation board at the end of the year. So that's a big change because he's been the chairperson for many, many years.
Yes, yes, it is. And hopefully town boards guys know that. It's important. How many openings are open on support boards, do you know?
There's gonna be, well, when Dave leaves, there'll basically be one on the conservation board.
Everything else is up to snuff.
Everything else, I think, is gonna stay status quo, by the way it looks.
We've been made aware that some of us are lacking some training time.
Thank you.
Okay. Due to COVID and everything else like that, I would like the town board to consider the fact of what everybody's had to deal with this year, and virtual training and all that other stuff, and just guarantee a grace period for letting people catch up. Okay. Just the county's been slow in acknowledging training hours, okay? And some people haven't had the opportunity to get online and do it. All right, that might be something you might want to consider before you have to take the stand that if you don't have the 4 hours because it's a state regulation unless town board acknowledges it, okay, that there's some reason why you can't have it. Not giving a, you know, free hand, but
What would a reasonable time be to extend it?
quarter, 3 months?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I would say 30 days, they've had all year.
And can you extend it with the New York State regulation? Can we
You actually
override? Is there
you actually can acknowledge it as a town board and say years of service or repetitive suffice. You know, it's all in the power of the board to accept their qualifications.
When is the online credit hours, how often are they made available online? I mean, if you extend it 30 days and they're not offered for 60 days.
All depends on what the village will accept. There are literally classes every day.
Yeah, there are classes every day, and everyone has been emailed
You
about
don't
the
have to
classes that
go
are
through county
available.
classes or anything else like that. There's all kinds of different training out there. And
If they would allow like energy there's energy classes, I mean, you name it, they're
They're available.
those last two that I just took here a month or so ago were terrible.
And I haven't
They
had,
were absolutely terrible. We watched one guy eating his supper and drinking a glass of wine.
Yes.
And he never said anything. He'd get up and get another glass of wine and sit down. We watched him for 2 hours. And the time before, it's really great to be on Zoom with a guy that's got a speech defect.
I have to tell you, when this is where a gentleman was in a class, there was like 18 people in his class. The whole thing, he sat in a blanket like this. No, the whole class, he sat and snored. The whole thing was on camera. I could not freaking believe it.
Going to them live, you get more out of it. You know, it's more
I would agree.
casual and stuff. Yeah, it's
Just to maybe something too, when you're talking about online training, we're looking into doing for our HR department to be doing some online, like violence in the workplace and stuff training. We've got to do it. We've been a little bit slack on it. We need to get it set up before we get in trouble with PESH, because PESH governs municipalities, not OSHA. But so, and I don't know if support boards have got to take this training either, being an employee of the town. Maybe your attorney knows that question, but I don't even know if.
I'm opposed to all that training. For not to take them.
But there is gonna be a lot of training. I don't know if the support board's gonna do it also or not.
I can't think of the name. It was up in regards to land, agriculture.
agriculture.
Yeah.
I wasn't in for that.
We had it
discuss it.
several years ago. We hosted one, had it at the VFW. Had a lunch and everything, and the secret determination.
You give like a 2-hour class on land use or something like that.
Well, we've had JP do some stuff for us.
I've done them.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a consultant, there's gotta be some tool in your packet that you might be able to share with us through MRV group.
Yeah,
You guys do a lot of training.
we've given many training sessions
How
on
about letting us know what you might have over the next month or so?
piece of cake.
Okay. Keith, you've done some training.
I have. I don't know that there's any certification requirement at this point. Do you know if there is?
I don't either for planning board, town board, I don't know. I give many training sessions for water operators, wastewater operators, civil engineering related things.
Anything would just have to be approved by the town board.
That's all.
That's my understanding for the ones
We're
I've
going
done.
into a big project coming up here with wastewater.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
It's coming. You know,
Yeah.
the pumps and all
Yeah.
that other stuff.
We certainly can give training, and as
Anything
Keith
that
suggested, I don't know who.
Anything that happens in a municipality, not only just that has to do with planning law and everything else, all right? Anything that can happen there, it can be fire training, it can be, you know, some of the stuff that Cheryl does, so that we all have a better understanding of processes that we ultimately have the control of setting in motion by putting our signature in a drive. And we'd like to, I know as a board, we'd like to see things different than the 34 Sika training things that I watched, or the 40 or so stormwater management control practices.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and that's why if you have, you know, people that have longevity with a certain board and everything else like that, it becomes so repetitious that you want to be the guy drinking wine or the okay? Don't you know?
Steve, I've asked for a couple of years, it never worked for me. I think we should give like a half hour's credit if we go to other board meetings. Because like, okay, we send somebody, oh, you gotta have a you gotta go to get a zoning variance. I haven't been to a zoning board meeting, I think, once in 10 years. You know, and for us to be better at doing what we're doing, it wouldn't hurt us to go to a conservation board meeting and other meetings. And if we could get just little spittings, little pieces at a time, you know, get that as part of our training, I think it would really help.
I don't see why we can't look into that.
I'll invite you to a Pittsburgh Historic Preservation Board where you can get hazard duty pay.
Good one.
Good idea to work out some kind of thing with like zoning workshops.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
I think it'd be helpful
Participation.
to everybody.
Just something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I don't see why we can't, I mean, why we can't figure something out,
Get
yes.
up there, figure it out.
I really like the idea of JP or some of the attorneys giving us a course that could go to all the board members, just about process.
Yeah.
And infrastructure in general. I mean, just not everybody on different boards know all that stuff, so.
Right. And I think Jim's point's great. I mean, even if you go next door to Clarkson or to Kendall and see how they run their meetings, and you can say, hey, we're doing something better, and they're doing something better. That's continuing education right there.
Give old some hard time.
I think
Not for long.
Out of that, and I agree, them online.
Who's their military? I think I'm gonna meet them tomorrow.
Fun. Or
Okay, well, while everybody's got their thinking caps on and everything for the new year coming up, and I hope next year is a lot different, a little bit more accommodating for everybody, and I wish everybody a happy holiday for the rest of December. And with that, I'd accept the motion for dismissal.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Okay, all in favor, raise your hands.
Go Buffalo.
Go Buffalo. Can you get home in 10 minutes?
I think it's 8:15.
the wind will help them.
Yeah. Just open up both doors.
Thank you, everybody.
So JP, did you go out for bid?
We have the one first ready project for Parma, small job, is out for bid. But now we're so Parma's this close to going to bid, and Hamlin's right behind it. So